No, I didn't get one. I didn't get one.
I don't have a periodic table. No, it might be one. Maybe the right first. Yep, first right.
All right. Huh?
I don't have one.
Were you not here Thursday?
I don't have one either. What?
You weren't here Thursday?
I don't have one. No, he wasn't.
I don't remember who was here.
I hope you know that.
And y'all need to get caught up today. You have a quiz tomorrow.
Oh.
Anybody else not here Thursday? Anybody else not here Thursday? All right. So, how do we find protons? Number one. Guess what? It's the smaller number. It's the atomic number. All right. So, our protons would be what? Our protons would be 17. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
All right. Our electrons would be 17 because our protons and electrons have to be the same. All right. Remember, tomorrow, hopefully tomorrow, sometime tomorrow, we're going to start building our model. If it's not tomorrow, it'll be Thursday, but should be sometime tomorrow. Our neutrons. How do we find neutrons?
You subtract the smaller number from the bigger.
37 minus 17, which would be 20 if I'm doing it right in my head.
Yes.
All right. Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
All right.
Wait.
What?
I need my glasses.
Well, put them on. All right. Number two. How do we find protons? So, atomic number. Remember, this is the atomic number for those of you who do not know why Grace keeps saying the smaller number. Atomic number tells us the number of protons. 74 is the smaller number. It's the atomic number. That's why it's 74. Okay? What do we remember about protons and electrons? They're the same. So that's why it's 74. Are we okay with that? Okay. To find the neutrons, we do what? 185 minus 74, which is 111. Okay? Now, to do number three, we only have one number. What did we say we had to do before the break when you only have one number? Got to look on your periodic table. You got to find the missing number. Now, is that mass or is that atomic number that's given to you?
Mass.
That's mass. Atomic number can never change. Mass can be different. It's the first thing we're going to talk about today. All right, when I put that isotope word up there, that's why we got to talk about mass being different. All right, so you got to look up the atomic number. So find cobalt, and the atomic number is 27. That little number can never change. So 27 is the atomic number. So how many protons does cobalt have? 27. How many electrons does it have? 27. Neutrons, what do we do? 60 minus 27 is 33?
Yeah.
All right. So for arsenic, what are we going to do? Markel, take your earbuds out. Elizabeth, take your earbud out. What are we going to do for arsenic? Now, Jaya, what do we do? So what do we do?
Oh, I can see now.
I don't know.
No idea. What do you do, Urelli?
Big is.
You find the what?
The thing on the chart.
What thing on the chart?
Whatever it's asking.
Okay, what's it asking for?
The A.
What, do you remember his name, what it's called? The atomic number. Okay, so find arsenic. It's 33. Okay, so you got to look up the atomic number, and the atomic number is 33. Okay, you with me on that now, Jaya?
Yes.
Okay, because you only have one number given in the question, you have to find the other number. You see how these two have two numbers in it? See how these two have two numbers? And this one has two numbers? This one only has how many numbers in it? You gotta have two numbers, okay? Huh? It's gonna look different on the chart because the mass does not have to be the same. The atomic number can never change. That little number always has to be the same. So you're always looking up the little number, okay? The big number doesn't matter. It's gonna be a decimal number, first of all. But the little number is always gonna be the one that's the same, that smaller number. So you're looking up the smaller number. All right, how many protons do we have, Malik? I know I used the right name.
You got there. What we do?
That tells protons. Yeah, what tells protons?
33.
Yeah, the atomic number. All right. This is where you guys have got to learn this if you don't already know it. Okay? The protons are the atomic number. So what's the atomic number? 33.
Tomorrow on the quiz.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, great.
Okay? So the atomic number is 33. So the protons have to be 33. All right. How many electrons are there, Elizabeth? Okay. Because what do we know? How'd you know that? As the and the yeah, you do. Yeah, the protons and the electrons have to be the same. That's why it's 33. Okay, protons and electrons are the same, so it's 33. An atom is neutral. Okay, so to find the neutrons, what do we do, Nigel? Subtract what? So you're subtracting the mass minus the number. So 78 minus 33. What is that, 45?
Is that in your head?
Yeah,
You're smart.
not always. Questions? We okay with that?
No.
All right, find your notes. We're going to talk about isotopes, and then we're going to practice. Because I didn't do isotopes before the break.
Yeah.
I told you I'd save those for after.
After what? Break?
For after spring break. We got to do isotopes and ions. Those are on the quiz tomorrow.
What y'all doing first?
What we're doing now. All that stuff we just did was Thursday. The parts of an atom, 2 parts, atomic mass and number, how do you find it, this nuclear symbol notation, hyphen notation, all of that stuff we did before the break. Did it on Thursday.
It's on her website.
You're the only person who watches it, Diabion.
Nobody's using that
I'm a
website.
good person.
You're a good student,
Yeah.
okay? Being able to go backwards and write the notations. If I put this on the quiz tomorrow and ask you to go backwards and find the symbols and write that in the right notation, can you do it? Yeah. Can you figure out what element it is and write it in that notation?
No, actually, yeah.
This is hyphen notation, and this is nuclear symbol notation.
So which one?
Whichever one I ask for. If I ask for both, can you do it in both? I know you can. You watch the video. You're the only one who watched the video out of both classes.
What you mean, like on YouTube? Right? Can we watch a video? Put some ads on it. You can make money.
I don't need ads.
Yes, you do. She gotta have 1,000 subscribers. Right.
Now, isotopes. All right, first of all, what is an isotope? All right, an isotope is an element
No surprise.
with the same number of protons I'm going to put parentheses here because I'm going to come back and put something right there. But a different number of neutrons. I'm going to put parentheses here too because I'm going to put another word there. Now, I defined the definition one way. Okay? Some books like to define it a different way. So, I'll let you write that down, and then we'll talk about the way some books like to define it. Leave the cabinets alone, and the doors closed, before you either break it or bang your head and give yourself a good cut. Now, in thinking about that definition, what is the word that we learned before break that is the same as the number of protons? Yep, atomic number. So, some books like to define it as an element with the same atomic number. So instead of saying the number of protons, they define it as an element with the same atomic number, but a different number of neutrons. So instead of saying a different number of neutrons, what makes up the neutrons? What number makes up neutrons? Yes, so we can say atomic mass there. It doesn't matter which definition you use. Some textbooks like to say same protons, different mass. Some like to use same atomic number, different mass. It's the same definition. So it's just a matter of which one you like better. I try to use them both interchangeably. So if you see them, you know what they're talking about. But we need to talk about them in a practical way. So that if you, okay. I need to practice using the board again. So, is an example of an isotope, carbon-14 and carbon-12 are something most students can relate to. Does anybody know what carbon-12 is?
No.
Several of you are using it right now. Most of you all go to each other and say, can I borrow some lead? All right, lead is not in pencils. Hasn't been in pencils since the early 70s because lead is toxic. Let's say that Trevor got pissed at Urelli and jabbed her with a pencil.
Oh my goodness.
Because you're sitting in close proximity. All right, and the piece of pencil broke off in Urelli's arm. All right, it's possible. She could get lead poisoning and she could eventually die. All right, because of that, we don't manufacture pencils with lead in them anymore. Haven't in years. Okay, food does not have lead in it.
Flint.
Flint. I don't know. I don't think so, but I guess it's possible. Now, because of that, we don't have pencils with lead in it. It's carbon. All right, y'all are writing with carbon-based pencils. It's graphite. Pieces of carbon slough off and leave traces of writing on your paper. All right, graphite. Now, carbon-14, you probably talked about in earth science. Anybody remember what carbon-14 was used for? If I said radioactive dating, would it bring anything back?
Fossils.
There we go. All right, so carbon-14 is used for fossil dating. Okay? It's radioactive. Later in this semester, we'll talk about half-lives and how fast it decays over time, so we're able to figure out how old rocks and dinosaurs and bones are. Okay? So carbon-14 is radioactive, and we can figure out how old it is. You looking at Trevor?
Yes.
Yes.
Let's
He's
see, rough.
decided that mom's getting him out of school or he's going to some other program, so he's decided he doesn't need my class, so he's going to sleep for weeks.
What?
Yes. Well, it's been weeks. I don't remember the last time he was awake.
What about those two boys, little boys?
Jose and Luis?
Yeah, no.
I have no idea. Jose's been absent. Joseph has missed a lot.
yeah.
Jose, I don't think I've seen him in 20-some days at this point.
You saying the wrong person. They
Luis.
dropped out. It's Luis and Joseph. What the
Luis.
You say you haven't seen those things.
Yeah, sorry, wrong one. Jose. Luis, I haven't seen in 20-some days, and I'd have to look at Joseph's. It's a lot too.
They dropped out.
I don't know. It's been long.
They dropped. He comes school, he dropped out.
So,
They dropped.
it is what it is. All right. So,
Right.
now, if we want to find their protons, neutrons, and electrons, what would I need to know in order to do that? Now, Jaya, see what you learned from a minute ago. What would I need to know to find their protons?
The little number?
The little number. So, what's the little number on the chart?
But do we need to find it for each of them? Well, the rest of the year is just periodic table stuff, right?
No.
No, that's just all. What is it then?
Chemistry.
Look towards the top right.
Top right. Okay. Oh, Miss Brown? Okay, I found it.
What is it?
6.
Very good. All right. So, the atomic number is 6. So, how many protons are there, Tyler? Like he wasn't on his phone.
No, hold on. Give me a second.
What do you need it? We already got the numbers. Both numbers are on the board.
Okay. So now what?
How many protons are
What are
there?
you asking for?
How many protons?
6.
Very good. The atomic number
Electrons.
tells the protons. There's 6. So Markel, how many electrons are there? 6.
And then
Because the
6
protons
neutrons.
and the electrons have to be the same, so there's 6.
6 neutrons.
All right. So to find the neutrons, we do what?
Subtract.
Eduardo? So 12 minus 6 is 6. All right. So now to do carbon 14.
Wow.
What's the atomic number? Octanel. Okay. So the atomic number is still 6. So the atomic number hasn't changed, right? So protons, electrons, neutrons. So Jose, how many protons do I have?
8. No, 6.
6. How many electrons do I have? Isella. Electrons. Okay. How many neutrons do I have? Diabion. Okay, so we said 14 minus 6, which is 8. All right, so can everybody see that the protons stayed the same at 6, and the neutrons went from 6 to 8. Everybody see that? So the protons don't change, and the neutrons are different.
Yep.
Now, how is this important to us, though? This is where it drives people like Nigella crazy. A minute ago, when she was looking at the periodic table, she's like, Ms. Wall, the numbers are different. Okay? So let's say that I write iron dash. Get a periodic table I can see. I can't see the one on the wall. Let's say that I write iron dash 58. Yep. And I want you to find protons, electrons, and neutrons. All right. And now Jaya looks at the periodic table and she's like, Miss Wall, the number on the table says what next to iron? She looks it up and she's like, it has 55.85 and it has what atomic number? 26, right? So the thing that bothers people is this is the mass on the table, and this is the mass I gave you. So which one do you use? That's right. You use the one I gave you. This is an average. Okay? It doesn't mean that that's the mass you use. Okay? Sort of like when report cards come out. Is the average on your report card the only grade you made all quarter long? No. Some of y'all had grades that were much higher than your average on the report card. Some of y'all had grades that were lower than what's on the report card. But that's an average based on 50% on tests, 15% on quizzes, 10% on homework, 25% on classwork, right? Now, if you did test corrections and raised your test grades, then your average is probably higher. But if you did no test corrections, your average might be a little lower, right? So this is an average. You have to use the 26 and what I put at the end. So how many protons do we have here? Tyler, how many protons would there be? Both numbers are on the board. Why are you still looking at the periodic table? Both numbers are on the board. Yes. Remember, the protons are always the small number. Okay? So it's the 26.
I didn't see the 26. I thought you wanted me to find it.
Oh, no. I already put it up there. All right. So how many electrons would there be?
26.
26, because it's always the protons.
And then you subtract.
Okay. So which number do we use to subtract? We use the one that I gave you. That's the one. That's what we're talking about.
55.
No, you got to use what I gave you in the problem. So 58 minus the 26. You do not use what's on the table. You use what I gave you in the question, which is the 58 minus the 26. So is that 32? Everybody there? Feel okay about that?
Yeah.
Now, are we okay with going backwards we did that one. Feel okay about that? Ions I'm going to do after we do the review. So let's go back for Markel and Tyler, and who else was absent?
I think I'm straight.
Diavion watched. You were absent. All right, so if we have this. All right, can you go backwards and find the element and the symbols? All right, Markel, what do we know from this? Okay, so we know the protons are how many? Okay, so the protons are 16. All right, give me something else we know, Isella. If we know the protons are 16, what else do we know? What else is the same as protons? That's already up there. What's the same as the electrons and the protons? That's what they're trying to tell you. All right, so the atomic number is 16. Hold on. All right, so the atomic number is 16. Now, this is the other thing we talked about on Thursday. Now, because you know the atomic number, you also know the element. Okay? If you know the atomic number, you can figure out the element. So, checking out your periodic table, what element would you be if you know the atomic number is 16? What? Sulfur. Okay, you with me on that, Tyler and Esau? Okay, so we look on the periodic table, and we know it's sulfur. All right, now, you look up the little number 16 on the periodic table because the atomic number is 16. Okay? Now, to find mass, you can't just look up mass. The definition for mass is protons and neutrons. What's and mean in math class? Means plus, right? So we got to add protons plus neutrons.
34.
So how many protons do we have? 16 plus, how many neutrons do we have? So I heard somebody yell that was 34.
That was me.
Okay?
That was mine.
So we'd have 34. So if we do nuclear symbol is the symbol for sulfur. So what's the symbol for sulfur? So we put a capital S, and then we put both numbers here. All right, the mass is on top, and the number's on the bottom. But like I told them on Thursday, if you flip it, I will not take off, as long as you have both numbers. But it should be mass up top, number at the bottom. So what's the mass? So 34 goes at the top, and the number goes at the bottom. Now, for hyphen notation, you write out the name. So you write sulfur, you put a hyphen in, and then after the hyphen goes the mass. So what's the mass? You put 34 there. This one does not have the atomic number in it. It's just the mass. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? All right, so we're going to practice this before I throw in ions. This is similar to what we're going to do tomorrow.
Music. Please. I'm gonna use my earphones. All right, I use my music.
All right, we'll take not 15 minutes, maybe a little less, to see what you can answer.
Okay.
And then we'll see where we're at.
Can I get a periodic table?
I just asked a minute ago, who didn't have one and who wasn't here Thursday? Do you not realize you weren't here Thursday?
Did you call it?
It's Monday. You don't call it.
Wake up over here. Is there anybody else who was not here Thursday? It does not have a periodic table.
You don't answer me when you call you that. You know I don't call you
Tesla. What's up, Tesla?
that.
These idiots. You just don't answer.
I'm an idiot. But
You can't remember taking beanie off your day you go into class.
You can't work out 2 jobs.
What?
I got 2 jobs. I work at a nail salon.
You work at a nail salon.
Yeah. You know
What do you do?
I ain't going to
Nails.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you good at it?
Yeah. No, I'm good at it. I'm about to get a coupe. I need a 2-door. A what?
So you're giving up the motorbike?
Huh? I'm selling it. Don't.
Stop.
Okay.
I'm getting a car.
Go sit down and answer my question. Otherwise, we'll just move on to the quizzes tomorrow. I'm good with that too. I don't need to practice.
Calm down. You need a hug.
I do not need a hug.
I got some answers.
Oh, calm down.
Did you see Endgame?
Don't be spoiling nothing.
I don't.
I spoil it.
What?
I spoil it.
That's cold.
Who got it?
Shush, why y'all ask me like movies? Disgusting.
At the
I like
end.
your
Somebody did that to me once.
Stand still settings.
I'm talking, man.
Ant-Man kills Thanos.
When they go off,
Yeah,
I was just
Pop.
Go on, find me some answers.
That's all y'all need to know.
Who's that? Do some more.
It's too hard.
Did you do anything over the break? What'd you do? Got up out of bed?
Takes a lot of energy.
You what?
I said it takes a lot of energy.
I'm sorry. Let me just scream on it.
don't have any.
I don't either. I have it at the house.
Oh my God.
Where are you confused at?
Wait, Bob.
What?
Come back. You want some break?
No, you gotta figure out maths. Based on what's there on the road.
When I give you the
Oh, okay, good calculator.
So, you have 2. Atomic number would be the same as what? So you know that. And protons would be the same as what? So you know that. And to find neutrons, you do what? 4 minus. There you go. Next row. And
We don't have to.
yeah, you do. You got HE.
Oh, you know that period. That's what he found.
Anybody else have a question? Very good. Keep going. Come on, Jose. You gotta take a hand off the counter and a hand out of your pocket so you can do the work.
Get a free pass.
Come here.
Spoiled.
Yes.
Can we round?
No, you should not be doing any rounding. You're not using the mass on the periodic table at all. You gotta find it from adding the protons to the neutrons. Right? You're not rounding anything on the periodic table. Because you're gonna say to find mass, protons plus neutrons, right? Yeah, because you just said 12 plus 12.
Right.
Okay? Yeah, if you get to the point you want to round something, you're doing something wrong.
I just add.
Yeah, okay, that's why I'm pointing that out. Why you got your shirt on inside out?
Because I don't like the front of the shirt.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
So, this right?
I didn't know if you were making a fashion statement.
No.
She is.
Yeah,
Oh.
keep
Mind your
going,
business.
Oh.
keep going.
Mine.
Good at spaceship.
Do something.
Yep,
And wait, stop snapping at me. It's over.
I get water real quick.
yes.
I advise you to get your sleep and stop snapping.
Oh, that's right.
Looks okay.
When are you turning the project today?
It's due tomorrow.
Did I finish it? No. I started it, but I didn't finish it yet.
I finished mine.
Does he wrap this? This thing?
Miss Waller, we started this with, are you sure?
Yeah, we're gonna go over it in just a minute. Yeah.
We're gonna need this.
Why? Okay, but she doesn't.
Mass is defined as protons and neutrons. What's and mean in math class? Yep. So you're gonna take your protons and add them to your neutrons, and that will give you your mass. Who else has a question for me?
I do.
Right here.
Okay, wouldn't this be,
It's
no, that doesn't make sense. I don't get this whole.
All right, so what do you know about protons and atomic number?
Same thing.
Okay, so protons and the atomic number. What do you know about electrons and protons?
Same thing.
Okay,
So it is what.
Oh,
Mhm.
my friends are. But how would they do?
that's gonna be 12. Because that have to be the same as the atomic number.
So
this will have to be 12. Because that's the same as your protons. All right, your mass has to be your protons and your neutrons. What does and mean?
And.
Okay, so your protons are 12. Plus your neutrons are 12. So 12 plus 12 is 24. Okay, so your symbol comes from your atomic number. Let's go for 12.
So.
What's a group number? Well, that's me in the bonds. There you go. So you're going to put MG and then EZ. There you go. That makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, Derek? Huh? You gonna be done?
My jail.
I said,
Can you go to Jessup? Yeah.
Yes.
yeah, you gonna be done before
That's
break. I said, you gonna be bathroom time. You haven't served lunch, did you? I didn't write down the day, just that you told me you served lunch, did you? You better stay. That'll be 2 you owe me. So don't get up when the bell rings. Who else has a question for me? Tyler, let me see what you got done. I don't see it. Just prove to me you have to play on your phone over there.
I'm a genius.
I believe you're a genius.
Build aliens.
Okay?
I'm gonna work on it.
I didn't say you need to work over here. You're
Nah,
good.
nah,
Keep
nah,
going.
nah, cause you don't trust me.
Keep going. All right, who else is having trouble? Liliana, you doing okay? You need help? You sure? Okay. Elizabeth, you okay? Yeah. Malik, you okay? You need help? Okay. Gisela, you catching on? Okay. Eduardo, you done? You done? Okay. You're Ellie, you okay? You need help? Think you're doing it right? You see some of it, see? Huh? Right here. Kryptonite is probably based on the word, but krypton is gas. Yeah, you're doing good. Keep going. You're doing good.
Yeah, it's fine. I can do it. Where is it?
Nope, we're on Clover. But the quiz will, after we do ions, there's several rows that will look like that tomorrow, that will have ions on it. So that will basically be what the quiz looks like tomorrow.
So like that, but harder.
Well, there'll be 3 more rows on it that have ions. That's what we gotta learn, the last piece we gotta learn. Which should be, I don't think, hard. Why are you messing with the signals? Remember you shoot the signals out of it? It's wasteful.
Right.
That's very nice.
I gotta find the one with the red seat.
So if you're a nail technician, what is your other job?
A restaurant. It's like I'm a waiter at those Japanese restaurants where like they cook in front.
Which one?
It's in Boone. I only work
Boone?
there in the summer. That's spring break. What?
So where do you live during spring break in the summer?
My dad.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you had family up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or my grandma, because they're all up there.
So who do you live with down here?
My mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when I live up here to do school, I just go to work at the nail. And when I can, I'll go to Boone and work. They both pay really well. A lot in tips.
So what nail salon do you work at here?
I have no idea what it's called.
You don't know where you work?
It's just like in Winston. That's all I know. I never looked.
Okay.
I'll figure it out. I'll tell y'all.
They pay you in cash or a check?
Cash. Well, I get like money. Like I get my actual pay from my mom, but like for daily pay, like the tips is cash.
So you never look at the check to see
Mm-mm.
who pays you?
My mom handles all that.
Okay.
I'm not opening a bank yet. They take money out. I'm not trying to do it. We use PayPal secretly because if you put money in there, they only charge you a one-time fee, and then every month they don't take any money out. It just stays there forever. And then you just get like a PayPal card. You just swipe it and buy it.
Okay. So that's where you put all your money in PayPal?
Yeah. Well, no, not all of it, because something happened. I'm not trying to lose all of it.
So you just like put it in safe?
Is that home?
So if you get robbed, all your money's gone?
Oh, I'm not getting robbed. I'm not getting robbed. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. I got what? Yeah. I'm just ready to get my car, but they don't give you a parking pass with no license, right?
No,
Dang.
you have a license.
I'm gonna go park across the street. Now I gotta take that class, cause like I already know. how to
Let me get
drive.
this straight. You haven't taken a driver's
I
ed.
didn't say all that. You can make an assumption, but I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You did not take a driver's ed.
Yeah.
You have no
No, I didn't say
permit. So therefore you have no license.
I didn't say all that. I didn't say that.
But you want a car.
I'm
How
getting-
old are you?
I'm gonna get my permit this summer probably, and I'm gonna buy my car this summer.
How old are you?
16.
You do realize what insurance will be if you don't take driver's ed and do it legit. Okay.
It's all good though.
You
I
gotta
got
keep those high paying jobs.
yeah. Cause I do stuff.
Because
on the
being
side.
male, your insurance will be higher than females.
Mhm.
Okay.
All right.
All right, can we go over some answers?
No.
Now that we've talked about Tyler and his
It was
good paying jobs here. All right. I can't use the document camera, which is what I would typically do to show this. All right. So you're going to have to listen to the answers and don't make me repeat them 8 zillion times. All right. I'm going to go left to right and I'm just going to read across. Okay.
Okay.
I'm only calling out the answers that have to be filled in. All right. So 2, 2, and 2. On the second row, MG, 24, 12, and 12. Go check your own paper and get off me.
I'm correct. You already checked my.
On the third row, 30, 35, 30. On the bromine line, BR, 35, 35, 45. On the aluminum line, and I'm sort of assuming that you guys have the right elements. Aluminum, AL, 13, 27, 13.
Yeah.
Uranium's line, U, 92, 238, 92. All right. On sodium's line, Na, 23, 11, 11. On Krypton's line, Kr, 36, 84, 36. On calcium's line, Ca, 20, 20, and 20. And on the bottom line, Ag, 47, 108, 47. Anybody having issues with anything? Feel okay about it? Okay. Nope. We got to learn about ions.
Why?
Now, that is the vast majority of the quiz. Now, I can't remember if it's the bottom 3 rows or the bottom 4 rows of the quiz tomorrow is ions. Okay? They're still laid out in a chart format just like this, except that it's ions. So, we got to talk about how to do those rows. So, what is an ion? Okay? It's an atom with a charge. So, it might be like F minus 1 or Na plus 1 or O negative 2 or Al plus 3. Oops, let me see if I can get that on the board a little better. Okay? Those would all be ions. So, the question becomes, what makes it different if it has a charge? Okay, what's going to be different about it with a charge? Well, something's not going to be equal. Okay, so what's not going to be equal?
The protons, or electrons.
Yes, that's what's going to be different. Okay, so to be an ion, the thing that makes this different is the protons will not equal the electrons. All right, that's what's going to make ions different. Is the protons will not equal the electrons. All right, this is what's going to make it different. Protons will not equal electrons. So, I wrote 2 kinds of ions at the top of the screen. I wrote those that are positive and those that are negative. All right, so what does it mean if we have a positive oxidation number? So like the NAs, the plus 1. Okay, so like Na plus 1. Whoops, make that look a little better. Or Al plus 3. What does it mean to have that positive number? Yes, that is correct.
Why is cursive a thing? It's just like extra.
It's a lot faster to write. You don't have to keep picking your pencil up.
No, it's like.
It's only not faster than
Right.
It's correct.
All in text.
Yeah, say it.
Is Blackwalker, you writing cursive?
Yeah.
Which one do you think is faster, cursive or print?
Probably cursive. For me, I think it would be.
You don't have to keep picking up your pencil.
No. Just a continuous flow.
Do you run a cursive?
Yes, I do.
Running cursive.
We learned a few shorthand things too when we were in school. Because we had to take notes, like it wasn't given to us, it was the handouts. Or was it on he might have wrote things, or he or she might have wrote things on the board, but.
Some people just
it was a lot
talked,
of verbal.
and you had to write while people talked.
Yes.
So you learned to write shorthand notes.
So you had to learn shorthand, you had to learn.
A lot of times I leave vowels out of words because there's a way to write words shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's one of the things, it was one of the epiphanies I had years ago. I couldn't figure out why my kids wrote so much slower than I did. Because I write in cursive. I don't pick the pen up between every letter. And most of the time I print now because my kids can't read it. My mom wrote a grocery list for the kids while I was at home, and they called and they were like, "We don't know what this says."
Not because it was messy.
No, it was very
just
neat
that
handwriting.
people just-
It was in cursive, and they couldn't read it. And I went to translate it before they left the house. He snatched it out of my hand. He's like, "I got this," and they called because he couldn't read 2 bags of corn, quart size and gallon size storage bags.
See, the letters aren't that much different.
No, but he couldn't read it. Couldn't do it. Alright.
This generation, they are bringing cursive writing back.
They need to.
It is- it
If
is-
for no other reason, then people need to be able to sign their name.
Right, it is in the curriculum now. I know in Charlotte, it is.
Now, my kids can sign their name, but I don't know if they can do a whole lot else. But they can sign their name.
My kids learned it, they just went online and learned it.
Shelby can do it. I don't think Ian can, but I know Shelby can. All
You
right. So
have access to the internet, you can do this. You have everything at the tip of your fingers.
this is Ian right here. Jose is the picture of Ian. Never gonna learn cursive. He can sign his name though. All right. So what does a positive oxidation number say?
I know very
You know cursive? Here's hope for my boy.
well.
All right. So what does a positive oxidation number mean? It means you have more protons. Okay. So it means you have more protons,
I can do my signature.
which means electrons were lost. Okay? So if electrons were lost, we're going to be subtracting electrons in a few minutes to calculate our totals. Okay? We're going to have to subtract electrons. So, what does a negative oxidation number mean? So F minus 1 and O negative 2 are examples. That means there are more electrons. So that means we're going to have to, electrons were gained. So this means we're going to be adding electrons. Now, did ions or anything I wrote down up there change the number of protons or change the number of neutrons? No. What did I say were lost? Electrons are lost. What did I say were gained? Electrons. So nothing's going to change about our protons or our neutrons. We're not changing anything we do about finding protons or neutrons. We're only changing how we calculate the what? Electrons.
You know, like my second period teacher, you have to write cursive where his points off.
Zelma,
No.
Who?
Categorize.
I should have guessed that. I had a moment of insanity. I should have guessed that. Did she teach it?
What?
How to write in cursive?
No.
She just assumes y'all all know how?
Yes.
What happens if you don't know how?
I already know how. I can't teach that.
Because I know a lot of my students don't know how to write in cursive. I know that just based on the Saturday school contracts I fill out.
I learned this next.
I'm going to be able to find the protons, the electrons, and the neutrons. Let me make that lower. I'm going to be able to find the protons, the electrons, and the neutrons. Now, in order to do this, this works just like we've already done. Okay? What is this 8 that's right here? The atomic number. What does the atomic number tell us? It tells us the protons. Good, you Raleigh. So we know the protons are 8. Okay? Now, from what we did a minute ago, what do we know the protons are the same as? Okay. So the electrons are the same as the protons, which are 8. Now, this is the part that makes it different. Okay? So, thought you died in the bathroom. So this -2 right there means what? It means there are more electrons. If I go back right here, it means electrons were what? Added. Whoops, that is not what I meant to do. All right. Where'd my thingy go? All right. So this means electrons are gained. Okay. So if electrons are gained, what am I going to do right here? We're going to add 2, which will give me 10. Now, how are we going to know to add? What's the key to know when we add? If it's negative. Okay? If negative, add. A lot of people go, so basically it's the opposite. If you want to think about it that way, yes.
Oh, that's easy.
Okay? If that's the way you want to think about it, yes.
Which one do we minus from 16?
That's what we're getting ready to do. All right, so to find the neutrons, how did y'all find neutrons just a few minutes ago? You said what to find neutrons? Mass minus number. So what's the mass?
2.
This was the mass, right? So 16 minus 8 is 8. So what's the only thing that -2 affected? The electrons. Did I change the way we find protons? Did I change the way we find neutrons? No. The only thing that -2 changed is how we find electrons. It had no impact on protons or neutrons. That didn't change. Is everybody with me on that?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Can I erase so we have space to do the next one? Okay, tell me when you have it, Malik.
No, I got it.
Okay. Everybody okay for me to erase?
No.
It's like it's too late now. Protons, electrons, neutrons. All right. So how many protons do I have? Okay. So protons have to be the atomic number, right? So they're 13. What do I know about protons and electrons? They're the same. So I have 13. Now, if it's an ion, what does this right here mean?
You subtract 3.
All right, that means you lost 3 electrons. Is everybody with Grace back there? That the +3 means we lost 3 electrons. Okay, so lost 3. So -3 gives me 10 electrons. Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, so to find my neutrons, what do I do to find neutrons? 27 minus 13, which is 14. Everybody feel okay about those? Say what? Yep. I just got to fix it. All right, I want you to do the 2 at the bottom.
Why do you do that?
Because I can.
No, I'm asking serious questions.
What do you mean?
Like, when it says the electron up there, why put 13 and minus 3 equals 10?
Because this right here means you lost 3. Okay? So I had the protons and electrons have to be equal. So we had 13, and that means I lost 3. So anytime I lost 3, I'm going to subtract. Okay? So a positive means subtract.
So
but I only do it for electrons. So this minus means what? I gained one. I added one. So I'm only going to do it for electrons. I'm not going to do it for the protons or the neutrons. Okay? All right. Find me protons, electrons, and neutrons.
Do you do these paintings yourself?
Yes. Don't get excited. I went to art class. I didn't freehand those on my own, out of my own brain. Somebody taught me how to do those. I mean,
You did those?
Yeah.
You be going to that class.
Really?
Chris, you got the-
I know we got the protons on, but yeah, same place. All right, we done?
No.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me how many protons in iodine you're only 53? All right. Jose, tell me how many electrons in iodine?
53.
All right. So we got 53. Now that would be correct if it was an atom. But what does this right here mean happened to our electrons? Got to add one. So 53 plus 1 is 54. All right. How many neutrons? What do I do to find the neutrons, Otenel?
I saw you.
127 minus 53 is what? Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. So to do calcium, how many protons, Malik?
I didn't get to that one yet.
Okay. Liliana, how many protons? 20. All right. How many electrons, Derek? What do we know about protons and electrons? Are they the same or different? Diavian? They're the same. So we know we had 20. What does the plus 2 mean? So we get 18. How many neutrons do we have, Nigel? Okay, so 40 minus 20 is 20. Everybody okay with that? Yes or no?
We done?
Only with that piece.
Good night.
All right, we feel okay about that? All right, let's say that I ask you to work backwards. We're only doing this in nuclear symbol. We're not doing it in hyphen notation. We can't do these in hyphen notation. So, what do we know?
Atomic number 15.
All right, so we know the atomic number is 15. How do we know the atomic number is 15? How did Grace know that? Okay, so the atomic number is 15. All right, what else do we know if the atomic number is 15? Grace can't answer.
Oh,
The what? I didn't hear you. You might have said it right. Well, I don't know what you said. That's why I asked you again.
atomic mass is 31.
Hold that thought. So what? All right, what'd you say?
Atomic mass would be 31.
How'd you get that? Okay, so protons and neutrons equals mass. So Diavian said 15 plus 16 equals 31 for the mass. Okay, nothing wrong with that. All right, what else do we know?
I said, good job.
No Diavion, no Grace. Something else we know.
What the element is?
Okay, how do you know the element?
Because number
Because the number's what?
15.
Yep.
And it has -3.
Okay, so the element is 15. So what element is 15? Phosphorus. Or you can say P, either one. All right? Now, Nigel's out of the running, so we know it's phosphorus. We know its mass is 31 and it's got an atomic number of 15. What else do we need to know? Let me ask this. Is it an atom or is it an ion? It's what? How do you know it's an ion? The protons and the electrons are what? They're not the same, okay? Because you can look at this right here, and you can say they're not the same. That tells you it's an ion. Are we okay with that? Whoops, tripping over cords. Yeah, they're just taped to the floor. I'm forever afraid I'm going to rip these cords out of the either the cart or the wall. I wasn't afraid I was going to fall. I was afraid I was going to rip them out of something. And then I don't know where to put them back. All right, so given that, we need the charge, right? Because it's an ion. So what charge would it be?
It's gonna be negative.
It's going to be a what? I heard a 3, positive or negative. How do we decide negative?
Because it's gonna be opposite, and you're gonna add.
All right, are we okay with a 3?
No.
Because 18 and 15, what's the difference between 18 and 15? 3. Okay, so 15 minus 18 is 3. Now, tell me this. What do we have more of? More protons or more electrons? What charge do electrons have? That's why it's a -3.
Right.
Okay, so to write your symbol, what's the symbol for phosphorus? So we're going to use a P. All right, now the charge goes over here. The mass goes here. And the number goes there. Now, that's the way it should be. If you do it wrong and you have some of the numbers out of sync, I usually won't mark it wrong, but that's the way it should be. So, given that, P, what's the mass?
31.
What's the number? What's the number?
15.
15. And what charge do we say it had?
-3.
-3. You feel okay about that? All right. I want y'all to do this one and this one. Just those two. Just those two.
Can I get some water?
Sure. Can we talk about what you came up with?
No.
Oh, I only gave you 2. Tyler, you got them done?
The last one takes work.
No.
I'm going over it.
Mm-hmm. All right, how about now? So if we look at the first, how many protons do you have? All right, so the protons are 26. How many electrons are there? 26 minus, so that would be
23.
good. All right, neutrons, we would say 56 minus 26, which is 30. We all good with those? So we're okay with that type.
I did the wrong one.
Which one did you do?
First one.
The first one? All right, so how many protons did you have?
12.
And how many electrons did you have?
12.
Minus,
2.
which is,
10.
okay, and neutrons.
12.
So 24 minus 12 is 12.
Yeah.
All right, so you got, anybody else do the wrong one? I need to do that one with them? Okay, so the bottom one. So what do we know? The atomic number is 14. Okay, what else do we know?
The element.
The element is silicon. Okay, what else do we know?
Mass.
The mass, what's the mass? Mass is 28. Everybody okay with those things? Or do we need to talk about how we got them? Anybody not know? Tell me, I'll be glad to explain it. Don't sit there and be like, I don't know how you got that stuff. When you build your Bohr models, you're all doing a different element. You got to know how to do your own element.
We're building a what?
An element. So is everybody okay how we got the mass?
Can I build,
No. You don't get to choose. I choose.
I think we choose.
Because you don't get to choose. Some of y'all would pick hydrogen.
Accurate. We're gonna pick this one.
You don't get to pick that either. All right, so silicon is in the middle. What goes up here?
Mass.
28. What goes down here?
14.
All right, so is it an atom or is it an ion?
And I.
It's an ion, okay? So the protons and electrons are different. How much different?
4.
Okay, so we know it's got a 4. Do we have more protons or more electrons? More protons, so we put a what right here?
Plus.
A plus. Plus 4. Everybody feel okay about that?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Let me see here. I think the cart's unlocked. You can't tell from here. But you can use your phone if you want.
You have the music on
For some odd reason, the sound doesn't play on this one, and I don't care why. All right, which one is it? That one? Yeah, that's it. And I'm not giving you very long here to put in a name. And you will need a periodic table handy. Not all of these require a periodic table, but some do. Now let's go check that real quick. Oh, quickly. Tyler, you got your name in there?
Trying to go. Okay, I think I found it. Give me a second. All right, there we go.
All right, people are going down. Are they getting kicked off or are they changing their names? Protons are found in the nucleus. I don't know why people would tell me protons are found in the electrons. They're not in the electrons. That's the mass of an electron. The mass of an electron is 0. Y'all pick the charge. The charge is -1. Its mass is 0. It's negligible. Charge on a neutron is 0. What tells the number of protons in an atom? Good. How many protons are there in copper-65? It's about middle of the chart. All right, the atomic number tells protons, right? So when you look up copper, the atomic number is 29, so there's 29 protons. All right, how many electrons are there in phosphorus-31? All right, the atomic number tells the protons, it tells the electrons. There's 15. All right, how many neutrons are there in zinc? Neutrons. We have 5 minutes, Tyler.
Huh?
I said we have 5 minutes.
I know, let's put this up.
You're supposed to be using it to participate.
I answered the question.
So you're just doing the math in your head from now to the bell? All right. You look at that. How do you find neutrons? What do you do to find neutrons? Yes, 65 minus 30 is 35. All right, how many electrons does chlorine have? All right, good. Remember, what tells electrons? That's 17 right there is protons. It's also electrons. Atomic number. All right, number 9. We're doing one more. That's the atomic mass. If you have 55 protons, 55 electrons, and 67 neutrons. All right. What do we do to find mass?
Add protons and
Protons and neutrons. So 55 plus 67. All right, last question. What's the atomic number of an element with 14 electrons and 15 neutrons? Atomic number. Not terrible. All right, atomic numbers, electrons, or protons. So the winner is Nigel. Top 5 puts us with, apparently Markel was showing some rapid increases in where his placement was. Okay. All right, if you've still got a calculator, put it where it needs to go, please.
I just got it.
She skipped her class, Rector.
Give me that.
How many times have you missed Rector's class over there, genius? How many times have you missed Rector's class?
You say like Miss Rector's class or like?
Missed Miss Rector's
missed?
class. How many times have you been absent?
I get, I get it.
I'm not sure. But I woke up late, so they're looking at the.
I need 2 more. 1 more.
One got two.
Wait, I stole it.
Good.
Is that all? What do you think?
Who's in cellar?
Isotopes. The Annabelle.
Small.
What Annabelle?
We're doing errands.
Fabulous.
It's not.
I assume you'll still be here when I get back from the ladies' room.
Probably not.
Not you, Derek.
Oh. How bad of a kid is he?
Huh?
How bad of a kid is he?
He reminds me of Ian. He does very little. He's sort of a sloth.
Your son?
Yes. Except for the poofed up hair on top. He can be Ian the way he walks around, the way he sort of slouches in the chair, his energy level.
We're talking about you.
Yeah. He said, "What kind of student are you?" I said, "You could, except for the puffed up hair right there, you could be Ian." Tall, sort of wide, lazy. You could be Ian. My second period. I moved. Right.
Stuff that we heard about was for the start of the almost happened.
Gotcha. Now we're doing the gas laws. I mean, I told them this is where we're gonna be tomorrow, this is where we're gonna be Friday. Y'all either with me or you're not.
Well, and that's it, that's what I said, we don't have time, we gotta keep pushing, guys.
Exactly.
But
Crap, I forgot to turn that off at the end of second.